Every generation gets a bubble. Yours is probably in progress right now. And the guys who lose their savings in it never see it coming, even though the pattern has been the same for 400 years. Here are the 7 red flags. You have probably seen at least 3 of them this week. For the next 10 minutes, I'll walk you through the 7 flags every financial bubble displays. Tulips, .com, housing, crypto, whichever comes next. Same shape every time. Plus the one rule for what to do when you notice them, without either FOMOing in late or missing every real opportunity for the next decade. This one saves the guys who use it more money than any investment tip ever will. Start with the frame, because it's not intuitive. Bubbles are not about specific assets. Bubbles are about specific human behaviors that show up around any asset in any decade whenever prices rise fast enough for long enough. The wrapper changes. Tulip bulbs, railroad shares, radio companies, .com stocks, houses, crypto tokens, whatever's next. The shape underneath is identical, which means you don't have to be an economist to spot a bubble. You have to be a pattern reader. And the pattern is behavioral, not financial, which means it shows up in the people around you before it shows up in any headline. 7 flags. Once you can name them, you cannot unname them, and you'll never mistake the pattern for a normal market again. Red flag 1, the "this time is different" chorus. Every bubble in history has had a specific talking point. This time is different. The old rules don't apply anymore. We're in a new paradigm. This is not a bubble because of some specific reason that has never applied in any previous bubble. Watch for that talking point in your feed, not once, everywhere. Article after article, tweet after tweet, video after video, all explaining why the current thing is not comparable to the previous thing. Here is the specific tell. The talking point is always about why the old rules don't apply. It is never about why the current specific asset is worth what it costs. That's the give. The defense is about the framework, not the fundamentals. Principle. When "this time is different" becomes ambient in your feed, it is not different. It never has been. Red flag 2. Normal people you know start quoting price targets. Your uncle, who has never talked about markets, suddenly has a price target. The guy from work, who used to talk about weekend plans, is now explaining a specific asset over lunch. Your barber has an opinion. This is not because they suddenly became investors. It's because the asset has been in the news long enough that even people who don't normally think about markets have absorbed a specific number. That's what a bubble looks like from the inside of a normal life. The rule of thumb has been true for 100 years. When people who never mentioned an asset are suddenly telling you about it with a specific number, the top is near or already past. Principle. Watch the mouths of the people who don't usually talk about money. Their sudden fluency is a leading indicator. Red flag 3. The "everybody's getting rich except you" marketing frame. Every bubble grows on a specific emotional lever. The fear that everybody around you is compounding fast and you are being left behind. That lever is what gets normal people to break their own rules and put money in. Watch for the frame. The train is leaving. You're missing generational wealth. The window is closing. If you don't act now. Every one of those phrases is designed to override hesitation. The specific hesitation a rational person would feel about buying something at its most expensive point. Nobody markets a fair value asset that way. Fair value assets don't need urgency. Fair value assets need patience. Principle. When the marketing tone shifts from "here's what this does" to "you're being left behind," you are looking at a bubble in its extraction phase. Red flag 4. Leverage becomes normal. At the peak of every bubble, normal people start borrowing money to buy the asset. Not professionals, normal people using credit cards, home equity loans, buy now, pay later, whatever they can access. Because when an asset is going up faster than the interest rate on the debt, the math looks free. Borrow at 10%. Invest in the thing going up 30%. Pocket the difference. Repeat forever. That math works until it doesn't. When it stops working, the leveraged buyers are the first ones wiped out. Their forced selling is what turns a normal correction into a crash. Principle. When it becomes normal to borrow money to buy the asset, the end game is close. Not tomorrow necessarily, not next week, but close on the scale that matters for your money. Halfway through the flags, notice what these four have in common. They are all about the psychology around the asset, not the asset itself. Because bubbles are psychology events with a price tag attached. If you can read the psychology, you don't need to know anything specific about the asset to see what's happening. Red flag 5. The mainstream media covers it uncritically. The general audience media, the sources that don't normally cover markets, start covering the asset like it's a phenomenon. Not with skepticism, not with due diligence, as a story about how much money is being made and how many normal people are making it. Historically, this is called the taxi driver signal. When the taxi driver, the barber, or the general interest newspaper is talking about the asset like it's a done deal, that's the signal. The top is usually within striking distance. The reason this signal works is that mainstream coverage is a lagging indicator of how far the story has spread. By the time it hits general interest media, everybody who was going to buy has usually already bought. Principle. When the coverage stops being financial coverage and starts being cultural coverage, the top is close. Red flag 6. The newest entrants are the loudest and least informed. At the peak of every bubble, the people making the most noise about the asset are the ones who bought most recently and know the least. They are on social media explaining why the asset is going to 20 times its current price. They are dunking on skeptics. They are calling anybody who questions the thesis not built for this era. Their entire investment identity is built around one asset they bought 3 months ago. The specific problem is that they don't have the memory of the last bubble. They think this rise is normal because they arrived after the rise began. They have no calibration. Principle. When the loudest voices are also the newest voices, the smart money is quietly on the other side of the trade. Red flag 7. Dissent gets treated as envy or stupidity. The final flag is the one that makes bubbles impossible to argue with from the inside. When you raise an honest question about the asset, the response is not a counter-argument. Is this actually worth what people are paying? Does this business actually make money? None of those questions get answered. The response is dismissal. You just don't get it. You're stuck in the old thinking. You're jealous because you didn't get in early. You're spreading fear. You're going to be left behind when the future arrives. That is the same specific response every bubble in history has produced when questioned, and it's the clearest signal that the room you're in is no longer capable of processing counter-evidence, which is when bubbles end. Principle. When honest questions get answered with insults about the questioner, the community around the asset has already stopped functioning as a market. It's now a cult with a ticker. So here's the callback. Every generation gets a bubble. Yours is in progress. Here are the 7 flags you now know. This time is different. Normal people quoting price targets. The left behind frame. Everyone leveraged. Mainstream cultural coverage. Loudest voices being newest. Dissent treated as envy. Here is the rule. You do not have to short a bubble to survive one. You just have to not be leveraged inside one when it pops. That's the whole move. The guys who blow up in every bubble are not the ones who missed the peak. They are the ones who borrowed to buy at the peak. Do neither. Sit it out or hold what you already had calmly and let the leveraged guys blow themselves up around you. You don't need to catch every wave. You need to not drown in the ones you can see coming. If this hit, subscribe. I make one of these a week. Practical stuff about how money actually works. No hype, no shortcuts.